Good, we're going live now, so 20 seconds.
And then 10 seconds and you can take over. Cool, enjoy.
Good morning, everybody. We are ready to start today off with your English lesson for grade 6. I hope everybody enjoys the lesson. Fiona's taking over now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the STEM Lockdown Digital School and welcome to grade 6, first additional language writing lesson today. You can write in the in the chat box. Unfortunately, I can't see you, but I've got my little emoji that takes my place, okay, just to watch you and see if you're doing your work today. My name is Fiona Beale. Let's just try and get this going. And I'm your grade 6 first additional language teacher for grade 6. And I've really been enjoying teaching you every day. Today we're doing a writing lesson based on what we've been doing this week in our CAPS. And we've had the topic of endangered animals, as you know. So let's just see what's in store for you today. First of all, we'll be working on term 2 weeks 3 and 4 of CAPS. And we'll start off by reviewing 2 descriptions from earlier this week. After that, we'll review how to write a description. You did one orally earlier in the week. Today, you'll be writing it. We'll also review that oral description that you hopefully did in lesson 1 this week. And we'll get to draw our animal. We didn't have time to do that the other day. Then you'll write a description of an animal, and I'm really, really hoping that you will read your description into Flipgrid for homework so that I can listen and see what you have done. And then we will design, draw, and label visual text. So we've actually got 2 writing tasks today. One is to write the description, and the other one is to design, draw, and label visual text. And we'll finish off by looking at some links that you can explore this week if you have time. So let's get going. Now, if you remember, earlier this week, we listened to some descriptions of 7 endangered animals. Do you remember that? So we had 7 endangered animals and we listened to descriptions, and you had to try and guess what those animals were from the descriptions. And also we had some information text that we read, and you found out a lot of information about rhinos. You labeled a rhino's body. So we're using all that information for today's lesson. Right. Now, here's our first writing task. And remember, with these writing tasks, I will take you step by step through them each time. So, I want you to write a description of an endangered animal. And what you'll do is you'll mention its name. You'll say what animal family it belongs to, like it could be a mammal or an amphibian or a bird, whatever you choose. A reason why it's endangered, the main reason, and then a description of it, like talk about its body parts, use adjectives to make it a bit more exciting, and then whenever you write a description, you should actually use your 5 senses, because that's what helps the person who's reading it actually make a picture of what you're saying in their mind. So you'll talk about what you see, if you had to touch it, what it would feel like, if you had to hear it, what its noise it makes. Taste you can't really do unless it's an animal that you eat. And has it got a particular smell that you notice? Okay, so let's get started with that. So first of all, we're going to read some descriptions that I gave you earlier in the week, just to see if they follow that pattern that I've just mentioned, and before we carry on. So let's review this description and see if you can remember which animal it was. This creature is one of the most endangered amphibians in South Africa. You only find it along the coastline of KwaZulu-Natal, where their numbers are very low because of losing their habitat. It's only 3 centimeters long. Do you know how tiny that is? The male has a stripe along its back and the female is green. They have a shiny look about them. They look as though they could feel slimy if you had to pick one up and hold it. This little creature has a quiet, slow croak that could be mistaken for an insect call. Do you remember what that was? Yes, the Picker's Hill reed frog. Could you imagine it in your mind as I was describing it? I hope you could. Let's read another one. This endangered mammal that belongs to the cat family is graceful and beautiful, and it is called the fastest land animal on earth. Many farmers end up poisoning, shooting, or trapping this animal because it hunts their stock. This animal is lean and lanky so that it can run fast. It has smooth, tan-colored fur with solid black round spots. It has very long legs, a long narrow tail for balance, and a deep chest that contains large lungs. It has a dark tear stain on its face and a perfectly spotted agile body. This animal produces a variety of sounds such as growls, purrs, chirps, yelps, moans, hisses, and spitting sounds. Imagine that. Do you remember what that is? The cheetah. Right. So that's an example of a description. Maybe a bit longer than you would write, but that is an example. So did you notice how to write that, how that was written? You need to give a clear picture of whatever you're describing, and that will enable your readers to form a mental picture. Give plenty of detail and use as many of your senses as you can to write your description. What you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, and what you touch, with taste being the problematic one most of the time. All right, let's get on. Now, in our listening and speaking lesson this week, we had I asked you to do an oral description. You were given a rhino and asked to describe it orally, like what its name was, what animal family it belonged to, like the mammal family, a mention why it's endangered, and then a description mentioning the body parts, using adjectives, using the 5 senses. The very same format as we're going to write today. Do you remember doing that? Good. Let's draw today's endangered. So now we're getting on to an endangered animal for today, and I would actually like it if you could make your description about this particular animal, but if you feel that you would rather describe another animal, that's also fine. So, have you got a piece of paper and a pen ready? Because we're going to draw our animal first. Okay. I think you'll remember which endangered animal this is, I should say. So, let's start off by drawing those 2 squiggly lines. I'm also going to be drawing on this side just to make sure that the instructions are correct. So draw your 2 squiggly lines. Okay. Then add the next little pieces that are shown in red. Okay. Got that. Now add the ears, the tusks, and the eye, all the parts shown in red. An interesting thing about this animal's ears is they're the shape of Africa. In real life, they're the shape of Africa. Right. Got that. Now let's add the other ear at the top and underneath that little sort of chin part. Or is it the mouth? Can't think now. Okay. Got that. Now let's add the legs. Quite thick, stocky legs. Wouldn't like one of those standing on me. Got that? And now we'll join up the body. Join up the body underneath. Put the other two legs sticking out. Right. And add the toes and the tail. Right. It's got a long tail, this elephant. Right. Okay, so now you've got your elephant. How's your drawing? I'm quite pleased with mine, actually. I'm not really a very good artist, but I managed to draw an elephant today. Yay! So let's go on. Now that we've drawn our elephant, let's write. So as I say, you can describe the elephant, but if you prefer to use another animal, you can. So let's write its name to start with. And then after that, we'll write which family it belongs to, such as the mammal family. Can you see how its ears look like the map of Africa? And mention one reason why it's endangered. And then you describe it. So I'm putting on my clock now, so I can give you some time to write those sentences. And remember that these are the sentences that I would like you to read into Flipgrid. It would be amazing if I could actually hear you reading in Flipgrid. Okay, sorry that I can't be playing my music now, but hopefully you can get this done nicely now. So let's see, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes, okay. 5 minutes or so. So you might not hear me for a while. I might chip in every now and then. Remember to use full sentences, please. So have you written its name? Have you said what animal family it belongs to? Have you given a reason why it's endangered? And now your description. Mention what you see. What can you see? Wrinkled skin, big flappy ears, a long trunk. It's got a mouth in there somewhere. Tusks made of ivory. Very stocky legs. I think it might be the largest land animal in South Africa. And look at that tail. I wonder what it uses that tail for. Toes and nails. Is it going well? Your description going well? If you had to hear it, what would you hear? What noise does it make? And if you had to touch it, my family went to the Addo Elephant Park last year and we were able to touch the elephants, and my goodness, but their skin is very, very coarse. It's not smooth at all, that wrinkled skin. And it had a particular smell too. I so wish I could get you to call out what you've written, but it's not possible on this program that we have at the moment. So I'm going to rely on Flipgrid to hear what you've written. Have you finished? Let me give another minute or so. Okay. Maybe you could just read your description, even though if it feels like you're reading to yourself. Read it out now. Remember to mention its name, what animal family it belongs to. Mention why it's endangered. And then describe it using adjectives, what you can see, what you can hear. If you had to touch it, what it would feel like. I suppose for taste, you could always mention what it eats. And what does it smell like? Okay, so I'm assuming now that you have described your endangered animal, and maybe you didn't even choose an elephant. You might have chosen something else. So I would love to hear your description. So with your parents' permission, you just go to www.flipgrid.com. It's a Microsoft program. You type in this code A745C089. It's the place I use for writing every time I ask you to write into Flipgrid. And just follow the instructions and read what you wrote. It only gives you 1.5 minutes, which is plenty of time. Good. We'll just do that code again. A7, just copy down this code, A745C089. Right. So let's do it. Yes, let's do it. Let's go on. Now, our second writing task for today, as is stated in the CAPS curriculum, is to label your drawing that you did just now of your elephant. Label it. So make sure you get all the body parts mentioned. Okay. Here's our list of body parts. Toes and nails. Wrinkled skin. You could even say grey wrinkled skin. Tusks. Trunk. A belly. A big belly. Mouth. Behind that tusk there's a mouth. Ears that look like Africa. Tail. Eyes. Quite small eyes, really, for such a big animal, hey? Right, get your animal labeled. Get your elephant labeled. Okay. Have you got the toes and nails? Have you got the wrinkled skin? Have you got the tusks? Do you have the trunk? Do you have the belly? Do you have the mouth? Do you have the ears? Do you have the tail? And do you have the eyes? So, well done, everybody. If you are finished, I'd be so happy if you got that done. Well done. So, our writing lesson's coming to an end quite quickly. I think it's because I can't actually see you, and I'm not sure if I give you enough time to do this writing. But anyway, if you're not finished, just make sure that after this lesson you do finish, and that you finish labeling your elephant, and that you finish your description. And hopefully read your description into Flipgrid. Okay, that will be so awesome. So this week you could even practice writing some descriptions of other creatures or animals that you know that have caught your attention. So let's See what we did today. We worked on the CAPS curriculum for writing for term 2, week 3 and 4. You reviewed 2 descriptions from earlier this week so that you could just see what is meant by a description and how it's structured. You reviewed how to write a description. Then you reviewed our oral description from lesson 1 of the rhino, and it would be a good idea to make that into a written description as well, so that when you read on Flipgrid, you could read the elephant and the rhino if you wanted to. Then you drew the animal step by step, and you wrote a description of an elephant, or maybe you chose your own animal. You thought about reading the description into Flipgrid, I hope. And then you designed, drew, and labeled visual text. So the visual text, you actually followed instructions, and so you actually carried out someone else's design. But you could practice doing your own rhino if you wanted to, practice drawing a rhino. Remember that these PowerPoints are available on the Africa Teen Geeks website, so you can always go over the lesson. You designed, drew, and labeled visual text, and I'd be so proud of you if you got all that done. Well done. Now, this week, if you've got time, there's a short video that talks about descriptive writing. If you want to go through that again, how to write descriptive writing, and it tells you how to plan it. Could be a useful video if you wanted to watch that. And the second one is another one on descriptive writing. Descriptive writing is a really good writing skill to have, so it would be good if you practice those. And hopefully you'll join me tomorrow. It will be our last lesson of the week. It's a revision lesson of the grammar and other work we've done this week. Maybe to test you a little bit on the grammar, a little test where you can mark yourself. I really hope that I will see you there. And don't forget to follow us on social media, Lockdown School. And thank you very, very much for joining us today. Bye.